spiked out. I could trip a referee. Tell by my attitude that I most definitely from.
Hey everybody, it's another This Week in Startups. Thanks for joining us. It is Friday. It's July. I'm back from the World Series. Thanks to Jason Nazar for hosting. He did a pretty good job, Alon.
I thought he did a great job.
Not better than me.
Of course not. Come on.
No, he did a good job. I got a lot of tweets that people were saying he did a great job.
They were fun shows and great interviews.
A lot of people were wondering if I would ever let anybody else host a show and I wasn't here. And Jason is an unlikely candidate on the surface because you probably haven't heard of him. He was a guest on the show, but people in Los Angeles know him very well because he does in Los Angeles a series where he interviews people, and it's packed with hundreds of people.
Startups Uncensored.
Startups Uncensored.
Yes.
And so I said, you know what? I saw him doing an interview there, and I said, this guy's pretty good at interviewing people. I'd love to have him fill in for me. He did 2 great interviews, and I appreciate him holding down the fort. So thank you, Jason Nazar. And thank you to Ustream for streaming all of our content across the entire network, 16 shows, brilliantly, flawlessly. We never have a problem with Ustream.
Perfect, and now they've started to really sort of feature us, help us promote the network, and it's going great.
I noticed that. Every show seems to have 200 or so live viewers.
That's all,
as a baseline.
Just Ustream putting us on the front page, featuring us around the site. We really appreciate it, and yeah, it's been great.
Programming announcement. Next Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, we're going to have the second Global Twist meetup.
Very exciting.
That's going to occur on July 20th here in Los Angeles at 11 a.m. If you want to come to the Mahalo offices and have bagels, pain au chocolat, whatever, eggs.
We got a whole spread
we're having
working.
brunch.
We're having a lovely brunch, so please come join us here.
Chef Jen, Mahalo Chef, will be doing that. And we're also going to have an event going on in all these other cities again.
Yes, I have 13 cities signed up already. 13
cities. If you want to have a Twist meetup in your city, all you do is go to meetup.com/twist.
/startups.
/startups, sorry. Meetup.com/startups. And you sign up and you say, I'm going to do it in the city. And then you have some people over, you watch the show, and people are going to call in. They host. People can sign up at the cities to present their startup company in a 2-minute pitch.
Right.
Whoever wins the city gets to be on the program.
Who the people at that meetup will pick who they think is the best pitch. That person will then pitch us here in studio live during the show.
Currently London, San Diego, Charlotte, Indianapolis, Orlando, Paris, Quad Cities, Iowa, Dallas, Rotterdam, Austin, Pittsburgh.
And add Madrid. I heard from them this morning.
Wow.
We've locked in Madrid, so they'll be participating as well.
And I have to say, now people are starting to do a naming convention, I see. If you go to Twitter and you look at Twist Paris, you will see that they are running it there, and Twist Indy for Indiana.
Yes.
And if you go to twitparis.com, we're going to have all this information on the This Week in Startup site.
Yeah. Roberta will post all this on the post, but basically people are, and it all started with twistparis.com. They were the first to do this. The site looks amazing, and they're really using it to great advantage to round people up.
I think these guys are going to start making money off of it. If I'm going to give official permission that they can sell sponsorships, or sell the tickets at a reasonable price to pay for whatever if they have to. I mean, generally try to make it free, but if you sell a sponsorship, you guys can keep the money to run it. Feel free.
And it's amazing, in the middle of July in Paris, not easy to round up people who are working. In Europe, it's customary to take the sort of month off and go to the beach, take a vacation.
You're saying something about socialist countries?
No, not at all. I would never. But it is. I've heard from a lot of European people. It's challenging to get people who are in their offices, who are working at this time of the year, and yet all these European cities still coming through for us. So
great, yeah, because it'll be 11 a.m. Los Angeles, 2 p.m. Eastern in New York, and 8 p.m. in Paris and London.
10 p.m. depending on where you are in Europe. Yeah.
We've got a great guest today. And, you know, we have this big controversy over female CEOs or brouhaha, and it's very hard to get a female CEO on the program.
We do what we can.
But we always make an effort, and we don't have. But the reason it's like that is because I have set a benchmark. I only want like real CEOs running real companies, and so no offense to public relations companies or the VP of marketing at some startup. I'm not interested in having, in order to fill the female quotient, you know, oh, here's the VP of marketing from this company. That's lame. The show is supposed to be about founders of companies. So if they're a founder or a CEO, they can come on the program. And we've kept that line, which means we've only had one female guest. in 60,
We had
55 shows?
Alexis Maybank.
Yeah,
and
from
then
Go
was there
Group.
one earlier than that? There may not have been.
No, I think it's 1 in 55 episodes. And trust me, you don't have to send us a list of every female CEO in the technology business. We know them.
Yes.
You know, it's like a short list of, you know, I don't know, 20 of them.
Right.
And we've reached out to all of them. It's just, you know, CEOs are busy by their nature. And it's 1 out of 100. I don't know, 1 out of 200 seems to be a female. And I can't change that. You can't change that. This is the thing with the conferences as well. People say, oh my God, you don't have enough women on the conference panel. It's like, what do you expect? The conference producer is going to change how the industry is formed? Anyway, that's a long rant to say basically Susan Choe is on the program. She, of course, is the CEO of Outspark Games, which has raised over $23 million in funding. And it's a pretty big company all of a sudden. Susan, welcome to the programming. Are you there?
Thanks. Thanks, Jason.
Thanks for being here.
It's been an honor and a prelude to the show.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on. Tell everybody in the audience what your company does.
So we actually publish online MMO games. And actually, I founded the company in my living room. So the traditional founder who actually has an idea that's burning, if you will, and got a few people together and started the business from concept to here we are 3.5 years later. And I was just listening to Brian from LegalZoom before, how he had spent, you know, his own money, didn't take salary for a while, did that, checked all those boxes, and the result has been, I would say, phenomenal. Sometimes heartburn producing, but phenomenal.
And so tell us, what does the company do? I mean, I know it's Facebook games, social gaming, but where do you get the games from, and how is it going so far?
So our games are actually, it is an online free-to-play model like the social networking games, but we're actually console-quality games, but MMO. So I don't know if you play games, Jason.
I play a few. I've played the Call of Duty on the Xbox.
Yeah.
Angry Birds on the iPad.
You love We Rule.
We Rule, which is, I guess that's sort of a game. I've never gotten into World of Warcraft, I'll be honest.
You don't have
I don't
time.
want to start that.
You don't have
I
time.
think that would be a time suck.
Yeah. But I am well aware of these games.
Great. So, you know, we're basically console like code, right? Except you can play it multiplayer online. You don't have to go buy the client, if you will. Yep. You can download it for free online and actually start playing with, you know, thousands of other people online. And the model is that you can play for free forever if you like, or buy for elements of the game that you want. And the games really come in from all over. We started with games mostly from Asia, Korea, and China, because that's the oldest industry, if you will, of these types of games, where you might take, for those people who are not familiar with free-to-play MMO games, console games like Mario Brothers or Code or even WoW-like games and put it as a free download that you start playing with other players online right away. And we currently have about 7 games on our portfolio, and it's actually published on our own proprietary platform. That's also something else that we focus on.
And so licensing the games, that's an interesting approach, and getting them from China, where there's a just huge gaming population of people playing online games. How do you close a deal like that? Was this sort of opportunistic? Did somebody come to you and say, we want to bring our games to the US, and you said, oh, I could start a company based on that? Or did you say, I'm starting a company, it's going to be really expensive to build games, maybe it'd be more efficient to take these games that are already proven and license them for the US market? How did the licensing occur?
Yeah, well, basically the genesis or the thought regarding the company and the business model came from my days at Yahoo, when I was a corporate development executive working across various regions of the world. And took a look at some of the MMO games and thought, gosh, these are communities online, but they actually pay you instead of you having to try and monetize on just advertising. So got that idea about in 2000, but thought that Asia was a little more ahead in terms of the broadband penetration rate, mainly because they don't have the legacy of the earlier versions of dial-up DSL that we had here in the US or Europe. And as you know, even in France, they have like post mailboxes, landlines or LAN systems that they go off of. So I waited until about 2005 when I was trying to start this kind of a business within Yahoo, and ended up here with a stint at a company called NHN, which is one of the leading Asian gaming portal.
Yeah, they do Naver, and they also do Hong Games.
You're absolutely right.
Yep.
And they're actually #1 or #2 in those areas of search-related portal or game portal in Korea, Japan, and China.
Yep.
And they came and asked me at the time when I was leaving Yahoo to bring them into the US. And having tried to set up a similar kind of company within Yahoo, I thought this might be a perfect timing. But in the end, ended up trying to do it on my own, out of my own living room, then getting funding January of 2007, and here we are.
And so what's the state of the company today? How many employees and how many players in these games? Is it, you're obviously not the scale of like the breakout Zynga, but obviously you've made a lot of progress. So how many people are playing these games and how many employees do you have?
Yeah, I mean, our headquarters in San Francisco, so we have about 50 people here. And we have about 10 people or so out in Asia. And we have 6.5 million registered users. And on a monthly basis, we get 2 million uniques coming through, mostly from North America and Europe. And so that's another distinguishing point of our business, is that we really focus in on the Western market, if you will.
And these games, how are they translating across cultures? Are they appealing to Americans? Are they appealing to Asian Americans? Are they appealing to people who are transplanted? Are you getting people from Asia playing them on your US servers? Does this stuff translate or not?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, when we geo-target, it's a very typical concept in the online world, and I've been in the online space now going on 15 years. And we actually focus on the IPs, or the geos, that are US and Canada, UK, Germany, and France. And those are the bulk of our audience base. Roughly about 80 to 85% of our total users, the 2 million uniques who come through, are from those markets. And so it's not really Asian Americans, because I don't think there's that many gamers in that group.
Yeah.
Just in those geographic locations. And also, in terms of the revenues, we are in the double-digit millions. It's just, unlike a lot of the players out there, I guess we haven't done as much PR around our results yet, because I'm also a bit old school in that I'd like to see the results before I start going out there and talking about it, right?
Yeah, and so what is the breakdown of this freemium model? What is your expectation when you launch a game? Is it that 1% of the people will pay and 99% of them will play for free? Is there a model that's emerged yet in the freemium space for games?
Sure. So I believe this is yet another area that we've actually been leading this space in. About 10 to 15% of actives pay us anywhere from $45 to $50 a month for 4 to 8 months. So their lifetime value tends to be about $200 to $400 a month and climbing. In terms of the uniques, I can't tell you, but it's not that far off. Our active user base is very similar to the uniques. And so we're sort of the best kept secret, if you will. And this is why a lot of the bigger established traditional publishers in the US and Europe, and including media companies, to be frank, are coming to us to either co-publish their games or partner in leveraging their traffic better, meaning they want to be able to find a new business model that goes beyond monetizing eyeballs on advertising, right?
Yeah, and selling the virtual goods is something that is apparently very real. I mean, if 15% of the user base is spending $200 or $300, and that's their lifetime value, that easily makes up for the rest of the group. And when I bought Call of Duty, I spent, I don't know, $50 or 60 bucks.
Yeah.
That's a lot less than this. When I bought Angry Birds, that was $2, $3, maybe it was $2. I'm trying to think.
On the iPhone, I think it's $1.
I refuse to spend on WeRoll virtual goods because I feel like I can grow my magic cauliflower on my way to success. But there are people spending hundreds of dollars. It's amazing. Are these kids or are these adults? Who are these people spending? Because a kid can't spend $300 on a game, can they?
No, I mean, I think that's an interesting point to bring up because I think society as a whole is looking for something interesting to do beyond movies and music, right? And I think human beings as a whole, if you look at it in a bigger picture, I mean, why do you play games? Why do I play games? You know, and we're not 12 or 16 or 20, right?
I'm going to be 40 and I'm playing games. I'm embarrassed. My poor wife, I'm like, she comes outside, I'm like playing Angry Birds. She's like, what are you playing, Angry Birds or We Rule? I'm like, I don't have 3 stars on every level of Angry Birds. It's embarrassing. I'm going to be 40 in November, and I'm playing Angry Birds.
Well, I think we came up in a generation where it's no longer thought of that way. Like, we played video games.
About
really?
No. Well, if people knew the amount of hours I spent playing We Rule and Angry Birds, it's got to be half an hour a day.
But that's just it. You know, you think about Xbox, right?
Yeah.
Xbox actually, its early stage success was on Halo, and Halo was in that early to mid 30s male base. And these guys were people like me and you who grew up on arcade games or maybe even Pong.
Yeah.
And then we got busy with school and life and whatnot, and then we found ourselves, 7 o'clock at night on a Saturday, and wife is yelling or screaming or whatever it is that she's doing, and going, I'm kind of bored. I don't want to go to the movies. I've listened to
Uh-oh.
And then popping another console game into the console, these guys are starting to jump online, and lo and behold, these are free games, except they're awesome. And that's the piece that most people can't believe. They're like, wow, are you sure this is free? Is there a gimmick, right?
I've actually I saw somebody at the Apple Store load one of your games, and it was a kid. It was like a, I don't know, 14, 15-year-old kid went over, logged in, immediately started playing, and he's, you know, using his sword and blowing. It was like, you know, I was like, oh, he's playing World of Warcraft. I went over, I said, oh, it's in the browser. And it was one of these games. I'm not sure which one, but I saw the domain name was correct. So, but I mean, it is a lot of money. What is the, you know, like outlier in terms of people who've spent the most money in the system? Because I hear these reports of the whales in the system who are willing to spend $10,000 on virtual goods. What's the record anybody has ever spent in your system?
Well, we've actually got families that have paid like $120,000.
What? $120,000 from one family. I mean,
that's incredible. How
much stock do they own in your company for that? They sound like an angel investor more than a. Was that your Series A? 120,000. Hey, so obviously you guys have a lot of great success with it, with the company. What's it like being a female CEO? Is there any difference being a female CEO than a male CEO in the technology industry, in your perception?
Well, I think all the learnings I have here, I could take it to my own shoe dazzle later. You know, I could start my own shoe club.
Yeah.
But I'm kidding. I think here's what I think. You know, female CEOs should be judged on the same standards as any other CEOs, right?
Sure.
And because at the end of the day, the gamers, the customers, and the success metrics come from performance, not gender. Right. It's just people get so hung up on that, which is part of the reason why I actually avoided, you know, awards like Best CEO who happens to be female.
Yeah.
I actually take offense at that because I think, why does that even matter? Yes, I mean, there's the old boys club. I will give you that. But I worked on Wall Street in the mid-90s through 2000. And if that's not one of the biggest boys club ever, and I did well there too. So ultimately, I think guys, once they get over that initial shock that you can wear heels and you don't look like a frau, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Then, and then they can start working with you and they have fun achieving results. And then, you know, maybe the explicatives may be a little bit different at times of stress, but otherwise it's the same.
And do you think that less women are interested in taking the CEO position? I mean, Mark Andreessen said on stage at a conference recently, like, I don't want to be the CEO. That's a headache position. Who wants that job? It's terrible. Like I'd much rather be the chairman, or I'd much rather be a board member or investor. It's terrible. Do you think women just are too smart and savvy and realize, God, the CEO position sucks? Why would I want that stress in my life?
I kind of laugh. I think like in day-to-day life, traditionally, men would have to go out and deal with all the office politics and stress of making money, and the women are at home spending it, right? And you could say that, and I'm going to get all kinds of tweet messages for that one. But essentially, CEO role is not what I think most people think it is. As you know, I mean, starting something from scratch is hard. And it takes everything from strategy to people recruiting to management to financial management, business modeling, all of that. And then in the tech space, you have to think about technical issues as well. And then add to that games, and you're thinking about game design, because the way we produce, or rather publish games, is we actually have to produce the game design, meaning like game level curve, UI, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But you know what? I find that fun. I find that exhilarating, because everything that I've ever learned and have yet to learn, I'm getting tested on. And the people who come on, ready to battle that on, through the thick and thin, they can be, and I think deserve to be, I don't care, you can call them CEO, CPO, the title does not matter. I think at the end of the day, it's also the investors. They need to give women a chance in terms of being a leader. Not necessarily, it doesn't have to be CEO, but it's actually just believing in the ability of the person, whether it be male, female, or every color under the sun.
Yeah.
I truly believe that if you have a dream and a passion, enough for me to leave a job that's multi-million dollars a year paying, to actually go put my money where my mouth is.
Yeah.
I've taken no salary for half a year or more. I've put in $500,000 or more of my own money into this thing. There's been a lot of challenges and I think testing of metal, if you will.
Yeah. You mentioned something there about investors. This is something I've heard over and over again, is that maybe VCs are not currently as interested in investing in female CEOs. I don't know if that's true or not, but I don't think they have a hard time getting the meetings. I actually think that there is a pretty serious racism issue in the venture capital community, where they just don't like white guys. It's like, if you're not Indian, if you don't have a darker shade of skin, it's like I'm screwed. Because they're just like, I'm sorry, you're not Indian, you're not Korean, your parents are not immigrants. What? You don't want this enough. You're a slothy white guy, pasty white guy from the U.S.
Now you sound like my husband, who's actually a Scandinavian descent, Tobiasen. So, but I don't know if there's racism of such sort, but there's definitely profiling, right? Because VCs operate on what? Trends.
Yeah.
And we've seen certain successes, and Andreessen doesn't fit that bill, right?
Right. He's a white dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, he's not Sergey or Larry, No,
and his, I don't know if there's still, I don't even know if I should mention it, but his ex-girlfriend or girlfriend was the CEO, so he put his money where his mouth is, right? Yeah. So I think those are some of, I think the thought leaders in the industry are the ones who could make the difference.
Yeah. What's the most important thing to scaling a business like this? What's the most important challenge thing for people to focus on, specifically in a social gaming company? There's always like a couple of things, one or two things that are just critical if you're in an e-commerce business or in a social business or in a whatever business it is, content business. What is it in social gaming that a CEO founder has to focus on?
I think persistent observation of the trends in the game and with your community via data, via forum feedbacks or focus group feedbacks. And I always talk to our QA guys and our customer support guys and our in-game game master guys. And I always ask, what's going on with our users? What do they like? What are they hating right now, right? But the data analytics to back it up and actually acting on it as fast as you can, those are the two things I think are the most important success factors, or failure factors if you don't do them.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting you mentioned that because I've been with I have to say, the people who do We Rule, NG Moko, we had Neil Young on the program, the other Neil Young, and
yes, not
they have done an amazing job with We Rule of just every time I think I'm done with the game, they're like, oh, now we have a cheese shop. And I'm like, I don't have a cheese shop. I need
Jousting arena.
Jousting arena. Oh, and now I can get a joust. They pull this one, like, everything is going to be 25% off. I'm like, I got to get a second jousting arena. That's such a good deal.
Yeah.
I'm going to be 40 years old and I'm buying virtual jousting arenas, but I love it.
You got to get the falconry.
I got the falconry a long time ago.
Yeah, you know.
But you would only know that the person's getting bored if you looked at the data, as I guess the point you're getting at. And I think it's an astute point. You have to study the data, and you have to also get there's some qualitative, feedback, which I think is what you meant by the forums, right?
Yeah, this is, I think, one of the rare businesses that you really have to apply your right brain and your left brain.
Yeah.
You have to look at the data, but you also have to look at what's the creative solution to keeping you, Jason, engaged, right? Because I can look at the data and go, he hasn't been back in X days or X weeks. He used to, on average, come in a couple of times a week, spend 30 minutes a day. What happened? And then you actually look at what are some of the solutions. It could be content related, it could be marketing related, but you try things, right? You don't just sit on it for 6 months, plan it out, and push it out and hope it works.
Yeah. Can we ask her? There's a question from the audience.
That's a good question.
From Trav himself. Question: can we ask her about the addictive quality of this segment of games? Why are these games so addictive?
I think this is something Jane McConigal in a recent TED presentation spoke about.
Yeah.
And this is one of the reasons why I was fascinated with this industry and got into it is online games in-world personalities sometimes allow you to live a life that is sometimes fuller than your offline life, right? Yeah. And it's a lot like, I don't know if you used to watch Star Trek or not, you have those holographic decks, right?
Yeah, the holodeck.
And you can make it whatever you want, right? And that's kind of the effect that these games have. And I think that's why it's so addictive. You can be a better or different person than what you really are offline very quickly.
There was something in the sort of brain chemistry. Somebody's got to do a study of brain chemistry when playing these games, or like, what do they do? Those CAT scans of people's brains, and they try to they can see sort of the neurological. Things.
Like what parts of the brain are being stimulated.
I guarantee you the parts of the brain that are being stimulated when you're harvesting or leveling up are exactly the same when you're doing heroin. I'm absolutely guaranteeing it right now.
I think the games probably resonate with the oldest part of the brain, which is the hypothalamus, right? So you have no rhyme or reason. It just sort of makes you feel better. And, when you're happy, you stick with it, right? And I think in the old, I think Habbo guys did some kind of an archetype profiling of their online community. And this is true, I think, for all the games. You have 4 types. You have the 4 archetypes, one being sort of the alpha male, if you will, or alpha female, whatever they say they are in their profile. Second is a socializer who just likes to organize events, get people together. And then you have the third person who likes to just collect stuff, the collector, right? And then the fourth person is somebody who just likes to be there and watch, be an observer. And all 4 types have to be in your game to make it a real community. Because then, after that, no one's around, right? Yeah. And if you have the socializers there, then they're getting everybody else coordinated. So again, I think those are some of the archetypes that have to be there, and it probably reflects why these types of games are so sticky.
All your games are Flash-based, it seems. Is that correct?
No, actually Flash, and our platform and the way we publish is format neutral. So it could be Flash, it could be downloadable, it could be anything.
Yeah. So any thoughts on these games coming to iPad or tablet-like devices? And I mean, how much does it screw up your business that the iPad doesn't support Flash? I would suspect that if the iPad supported Flash, your business would be huge, or be hugely aided by that, right?
Yeah, well, actually, our business is downloadable clients mainly in terms of the games.
Yeah.
And iPad is not necessarily a problem for us. It's really more, again, because we're format neutral, if our users wanted to play iPad games, we could publish and push them off our network. I mean, again, our 6.5 million audience base is very, very amenable to new games converting, meaning they love to play new games. Yesterday, we had an all-time high, historical high in the 3.5 years we've been in existence in terms of how many people came into a new game for the first time the first day. They actually crashed our servers the day before.
Yeah. HTML5, is that ever going to possibly be a viable gaming platform, or is it just not robust enough?
I think users don't care about the format. I think it's really the richness of the game, right? Because WeWorld or Farmville, you know, who's to say that, who would have known that it would be so engaging? But the users find it engaging, right? So it's not the format, I think it's the game design's ability to keep you engaged.
You're listening to Susan Choe, the CEO and founder of Outspark, which you can find at outspark.com. Venture-backed, raised over $20 million to do social gaming, freemium model, virtual goods. Thank you for being on the program, Susan. I know you got to get to a meeting.
Thank you, Jason.
Cheers now.
Thanks.
Great job. Very interesting.
Yeah,
this gaming space is, I just can't stop thinking about it, because now I'm just thinking about everything as a game. And I got on Audible. It's not an Audible commercial right now, but I got on Audible on my iPhone.
Right.
And Audible now has badges and levels depending on how long you've listened to it. And I don't listen to it in the Audible client, but now I'm listening to the Audible client.
So
I'm
you
like,
can earn a
oh
badge.
God, I have to listen to all my audiobooks again. I'm thinking I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my iPhone and play the audiobooks I've already listened to so I can level up. I'll just leave it sitting there playing. I'm going to cheat.
It works.
I want credit for the Audible books I've read. Hey, and you know what else I want to get credit for is DNA Mail. DNA Mail, DNA Mail. Everybody loves DNA Mail. I would love to take credit for their excellent service. I would love to take credit for getting Microsoft Exchange servers for just a couple of dollars a month. All these users, it's such a great service. Why would you screw around with trying to build your own IT department at your startup or even a mid-sized company? I mean, frankly, large companies are outsourcing this stuff. If large companies, mid-sized companies, and small companies are outsourcing this, you should be doing that too. 99.9% uptime guarantee. Wow, it just saves you so much money. And they've been a sponsor from the beginning of This Week in Startups, even before we had the This Week in Network. God, I love DNA Mail, and they've done a great job for us.
Everybody loves DNA Mail.
What's not to love?
Yeah.
And the segment we just did, of course, sponsored the interview by DNA Mail. And I guess we did the show in a little bit of different order because Susan had to get a call, which is flexible about that kind of stuff. But I think we want to get right to an Ask Jason. Let's get Ask Jason on the line. Hello, Adam. Are you there? Adam, are you there?
I am. How's it going, Jason?
It's going well. I see that you're in your prison cell there. I mean, your dorm room. Are you in Oz or are you in a dorm room?
No, actually, this is just my apartment. So
you live with
is
that a brick wall behind you?
No, it's horrible wood siding.
Oh, and, horrible wood siding. Yes.
Yes. I've tried to dress it up a little bit, but I think I've just made it a little more abstract. So.
Yes. So, Adam, where are you calling from?
Pacific Beach in San Diego, California.
Sunny San Diego, home of the SeaWorld, where they imprison mammals that have no business being in tiny little tanks, correct?
Yeah, and I can actually see they have a fireworks show every single night. I can see it from my window, so that's kind of cool.
That's fantastic.
Did you see that video
of what?
Of the dolphin in Japan trying to escape the aquarium?
No.
There's it's a dolphin actually during a show jumps over the side of the aquarium, just lands in the audience, trying to get away. was amazing.
When they did have to pick it up and put it back in the water.
They had to roll it onto something and get it back in the tank.
It's just I mean, do people ever protest outside of the SeaWorld there?
I'm not sure. I wouldn't be, I would not be surprised, but everybody's pretty laid back down here, so it also wouldn't surprise me if that
I can't take it anymore with it. Ever since that orca killed the trainer down there, or it was in Florida, I guess.
That was at SeaWorld, Florida.
It's just SeaWorld is just such a repulsive organization to me. Everybody on the program just say, please, at SeaWorld, kill yourself. That's my message to everybody. No, and by the way, when I say kill yourself, BP oil exec, I don't mean literally kill yourself. So if you work for the suicide prevention hotline, whatever, you don't need to reprimand me on doing it. It's called humor, a joke. Nobody has a sense of humor anymore. You notice that, Adam?
Hyperbole, comic hyperbole.
Comic hyperbole.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a device.
Right. That's
kill yourself.
A satirical device.
Satirical device. I don't really mean the guy from BP Oil should kill himself, although a congressman and senator told him clearly he should
commit seppuku.
To commit seppuku and kill himself.
Yes.
Adam, you have a question about BP Oil or imprisoning orcas, or perhaps a startup company. Either any of those three is fine. Go.
Awesome. No, it's an app that includes all three. No, so basically my question is I've kind of built up this plan to incorporate video, and it's kind of a college recruitment website where you go to college, and I had to go through this a lot a couple years ago when I was just getting out of junior college and looking to transfer, and that there's not a lot of information that's really viable as far as, well, I guess transparent, in that you get some glamour shots from campuses on their website and things like that, but you don't really get the nitty gritty. And so what I did was I kind of pulled together a plan that creates kind of a almost like a web show where you're going to each campus and you're experiencing life on that campus and all the different aspects, all the little nuances. And it's kind of grown out of my control to the point where to really maximize the potential of it and to really launch it right, it's looking like I'm going to need more people, things like that. And I was kind of curious on your thoughts of when a project kind of gets out of your control and you're kind of at a stalemate with it on how you want to launch it. There's just so many different avenues I could take, as far as raise money or, form a team, do it myself, kind of go the indie route, maybe join forces with somebody else. What kind of, you would think that would be kind of a good move to do in that situation? Yeah.
So this happens to even me. An experienced entrepreneur will have a great idea, and they'll say, I could do this idea for, I could do 10% of this idea really well on my own. I could get a partner and do 24% of this idea. I could raise a seed round of $250,000 and get 45% of the idea done. I could raise $2 million, get 100% of the idea done. And Mark Cuban used to always explain this to me as like drowning an opportunity. And I think you have to know where you are in your career and what you're capable of. Because it seems like you have all these options, perhaps, but maybe you don't have all these options. And maybe you have to sort of handicap the chances of everything. I'm assuming you haven't raised venture capital or an angel round before.
No.
You haven't run a company before.
That I've done on a very small scale. I owned a coffee company for a little bit and
Great.
ran that.
So you've had a small company. You haven't raised money before. You haven't had an exit before. So you would probably do very well to create a boutique company, and you might do well with a partner. You might struggle with the venture capital process and the angel investing process. Therefore, you can pick the road that is of least resistance to get the product more developed. What matters is what can Adam do to push the product forward? And that might be different than what Jason can do, or Lon could do, or Mark Andressen can do. Mark Andressen plays on a totally different level than Jason Calacanis. He comes into a space and goes, I'm going to buy Skype. I can't do that. I don't have that kind of footprint. I don't have that kind of reputation where I can say I'm going to buy a $2 billion company and I'm going to take it public or whatever he's going to do with it and take it out of eBay. So you have to know what you're capable of in order to develop the strategy. I do like your business. This isn't the Shark Tank segment, but I do think that from what I'm gathering, and you were a little circumspect about, circumspect, is that the word? When you're not like a direct?
Yeah.
Circumspect, like you weren't directly telling me what you were doing, but it's sort of like a college campus tour or something like that?
Yeah, essentially, no, exactly. We basically would live life for you. So like essentially it would be like you would go onto a site, and I was thinking about building a mock-up before I did this, but you would essentially go to the site, and you would have maybe, we would have 20 to 30 different categories. So like everything from like, what are the dorms like, to the food, are there vegetarian and vegan options, what's the quality of the food? We live every tiny aspect of the life for you, videotape it, or record it so that you can and take pictures so you can kind of get a visual representation as well. Yeah. And then that way it's kind of a tool to narrow down.
Who's the customer here? Who pays?
I would essentially we would be targeting high school seniors or juniors looking to.
They would pay?
Well, I thought of this on the parent aspect. Is if I have a parent, and essentially what parents are doing now with tuition being so high is you're investing in your child for 2-4 years.
So you think they would pay to know what it's like to be on campus like this?
I think if you had like a subscription fee of like, I don't know, $39, something like that, I would pay that if I got the insiders, addition to 50 campuses, different campuses in different states, all the junior colleges.
I like this. Okay, so here's what you do.
Okay.
The Insider's Guide to Boston University, the Insider's Guide to UCLA, or something like that. The unofficial, what's a way to say like seriously unofficial, like unauthorized.
Unauthorized?
Like the unauthorized the unauthorized tour of Boston College. This is a good idea, a really good idea. There was a series in New York, based out of New York, for law firms and stuff like that. I can't remember the name of it right now. It's some weird name, where they basically did what it's like to work at this law firm, what it's like to work at this place. Yeah. I forgot the name of it, but it was unauthorized, and it was like $100 or $50. But if you got your law degree, before you went to work at this law firm, you would want to know, maybe it was File Vault or something, Vault. Maybe it was Vault.com. I got a Vault in my mind. But anyway, you would pay for these things.
Right. Well, it's an insider's perspective. I think the point here is with colleges, you're looking to go to a college, but you're getting a lot of marketing materials. It's all like happy, smiling people with backpacks.
Here, actually, it is Vault.com and Career Intelligence, and they have 10,000 companies in their industries, and you pay for this stuff, or you buy a subscription. So here's the thing: you don't have the ability to do it at scale. Yeah. That's a problem. But there are other people who might pay for this. For example, somebody who might pay for it might be the college who wants to recruit people.
Oh, and we thought also that like student loan companies and credit cards would really, if we were collecting any kind of data, this would be huge for a credit card company if you're getting, 100,000, information of 17-year-olds coming right into college, 2.1 million students who graduated last year are in college.
So Paul in the chat room is bringing up Unigo. How is your idea different than Unigo? Are you aware of Unigo?
I'm not. I'm the ones I was looking at was universitytv.com as well.
So Unigo seems like they seem like landing pages and review pages, like the Yelp of college.
Right, yeah.
Insider info you need about colleges. So you probably should take a look at that. That's a pretty well done thing. But I like your idea in video. Here's an idea for you.
Shoot it.
Get a couple of flip cams or whatever, iPhone HD, and you go and videotape life on a couple of campuses and make YouTube channels, life at Boston University, or whatever you have to come up with some sort of trademark, like the unauthorized. The
Insider's Guide to Boston University.
Unauthorized. You had to trademark that stuff, or brand it. Yeah. And you might want to get a trademark attorney to do that for you. It's not that expensive. So you can protect it a little bit. And you want to get those domain names, and you want to get those handles on YouTube or whatever, or Vimeo. If you build this and you get 30 videos up there and you start getting traffic for it, then when you go to an angel investor like myself or go to pitch it, you can say, look, just go to this YouTube channel and watch these videos and see how good they are. And then you've basically looked at what Adam is capable of doing. You're capable of doing that, and you could draft off of YouTube. And if I go to it and I see, geez, these have 100 comments each 6 months after you put them there, and you're interacting with the people there, and you did one. You picked 10 universities around where you are, in Southern California, and you had a YouTube channel for each one, and they ranked really highly in SEO, and they did all these things. Then I'm going to go, you know what? This person's done something. I like the format. I like the idea. I might want to angel invest in this.
It's tangible. You can go look at it. You can see what you think.
Yeah, and that's where you got to separate yourself as a young entrepreneur. You have to put yourself out of the bucket of time-wasting people and into the bucket of value creation people.
Okay.
Rice pickers and samurais, as I've said in other programs. Right now, if you're talking about doing something and you're picking rice and you're putting the rice in the bucket and then you go to sleep and the next day you pick some more rice, put it in the bucket, you're working at McDonald's or Starbucks, you're grinding it out, fine, you're a rice picker, enjoy life. You're gonna be a little bit of a samurai, you're gonna say, I'm gonna figure this fracking thing out, I'm gonna get something done, I'm gonna come up with my own idea. And so you come to a guy like me and you say, you know what, I trademarked this name and I came up with this really clever name. It's the unauthorized thing of this school, and I called it this word because that's the the hip hop word for unauthorized or whatever. You come up with, and I say, wow, this guy's actually got something going on. That's what I want. I want somebody who's got something going on, who's executing. Outlaw. That's a great suggestion. The Outlaw's Guide to,
There you go.
And the way I do this, just so people know my little technique, everybody look at my screen for a second. I go to OneLook, and Nick Denton showed this to me. When Nick Denton and I, early on in the days of the blogging world, this is how I came up with the name Gadling. I went to OneLook, and I went to the reverse dictionary, and I said, I want to look for a hobo. So I said, I described the word hobo, and it gives me bum, hobos, hoboing, vagrant, whatever, right? And then I found like bum or vagrant, and I think I may have picked hobo or vagrant, and I can't remember which one it was. Maybe it was vagrant, and I found Gadling.
What's the difference between this and a thesaurus?
For some reason, this is doing a reverse lookup of the word, so it's similar to a thesaurus, but I think it does a little bit of a wider net. And so I would go on here and I would say, let me look for
renegade. The renegade.
Renegade. Ooh. Unauthorized. So if I went on here and looked for unauthorized, the bootleg.
Bootleg,
bootleg, interloper, interloper's guide.
Giving people a sense that they're seeing something the school doesn't want you to see. This
Exactly.
is real inside.
Exactly. Wildcat.
That's
whatever.
That one sounds good.
But I mean, interloper is pretty good.
Yeah.
Illegal,
Not
good.
Illegal, no.
Unauthorized, definitely. You get the idea.
Yeah.
I think from what we've been talking about here.
One thing I would also add, just while we're chatting about this, looking at the chat room, everybody's like, well, Unigo is doing this, and there's a couple other sites that are doing this. That's not a reason not to do this.
Right.
I think there's definitely, if you can come up with a cool twist on the idea and have your own identity there,
of course. I mean,
just go for it.
If you take the attitude of, oh, somebody's doing this, you would have never created Yelp. Oh, Zagat's doing it.
Yeah.
So Yelp is so much different than Zagat.
Sure.
Yelp is its own community. Zagat was its own community of like people writing little tiny cards. Yelp is like people writing thousands of words. And so, anyway, I think you're onto something really good, Adam.
Thank you.
I like it a lot. I'm not going to lie with you. And if you're in Los Angeles, you come by for coffee and we'll talk. And if we come to a business arrangement, we'll make a lot of money together and we'll leave Lon out.
Please do.
Yes.
I never get to wet my beak.
You don't want him to wet his beak.
No wetting of the beak. It's interesting, actually, because Stork Brokers, plural, is moving along nicely. And next week, we're going to have an update on a new segment.
Yes.
And I think it's going to be called The Making of the Startup.
Making of the Startup. That's what we're tentatively calling it.
We'll come up with a name for it. But anyway, on the first episode of Making the Startup, it's going to be...
Behind the Startup, maybe?
Behind the Startup, something like that. See if you can get a good domain and trademark and copyright that stuff. So that would be great if I invest in this company and then I make a show out of it and then I make money from that show and I make money from investing in it. It'd be like Simon Cowell when he gets people, he makes money as he created the American Idol thing. He makes money as the host, and
produces the albums.
He just keeps making money.
The show.
He cannot lose.
The talent.
That's what
himself.
I want.
Then he makes himself a celebrity.
Appearance fees, everything is constantly making money. So anyway, we're going to go over the legal aspects next week. It's going to be a really good segment because my lawyer, Joey, is going to come on.
This is a week from today. This is a week from today's show.
We are going to have Joey come on, and he's going to go through, Joey Tran is my attorney, he's going to go through the legal stuff that we did to get stockbrokers what I call angel ready.
Right.
And we're going to walk through the term sheet. And then maybe 2 weeks after that, we're going to sit down with a PR and social media specialist who I've now brought onto the team to be the PR social media person, and she's going to have equity in the company. And then I'm going to have a friend of mine who is going to design the site and do the user interface and the whole thing, and he's going to get equity in the company.
Right.
So basically I've lined up 3 experts who are going to get equity in the company in exchange for doing the services, but you're going to get to see them live building out the company. So I have equity, the owner has equity, the PR person, everybody's got equity.
Except me.
Except Lon.
Right.
People are really upset that I've been giving you a hard time on the show.
I only found the company. I only dug them out of the thousands of emails we get. I picked this gem.
I'll take you to lunch sometime.
That'll be nice.
Take you to lunch. All right, Adam, good job. Very well done.
Thanks. I'll give you a call. We'll make some money.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what else is well done is Web Spy. Oh, God.
So
Monitor
well done.
all kinds of server activity from employee internet access to mail servers to web hosts. Analyze for traffic levels, patterns, errors, and more. A total log analysis solution. You don't even know what's going on in your network. It could be really screwed up. People could be doing illegal stuff on it. People could be taking it down. You could be paying extra overage fees. You got to know what's going on your network. You get yourself some Web Spy, webspy.com, @WebSpy, on Twitter, and you'll be all set. Yes, Tyler's not here today. He had a dentist appointment.
Dentist. And my dad. My father's working on Tyler's teeth right now.
Oh, thank God. Very good. And I think Susan did a good job on the interview.
She was great.
Let's go to the news. All right, here we go, the news.
So I know earlier this week and last week, Jason Nazar, he did not like to talk about Apple. He didn't want iPhone news. He got on my case. But we have to talk about it today. There's nothing I can do. Steve Jobs this morning offered something of an apology, a sort of a half apology, to Apple fans about the iPhone 4's now infamous reception and antenna problems. He called it Antennagate. He said, quote, "We're not perfect, phones aren't perfect, but we want to make all our users happy," during this morning's briefing. Well done, Steve. So he thinks that the issues have been blown out of proportion. He says 0.5% of iPhone 4 users actually took the time to complain to Apple. If you think about it, that's a pretty high number considering almost 2 million phones sold in the first few days. So if 0.5% of those people are calling, it's still a lot of people. And he noted that he takes all criticism of Apple very personally. He takes pains to communicate directly with users rather than farm these things out to PR people.
Yes.
So his proposed solution, just as you predicted, iPhone users who have reception troubles will get free protective bumpers.
I predicted it
for their users.
The day it happened, I said, why don't they just give everybody a free case?
You did. We have it on video.
Somebody pull the video. Can a super fan pull the video? Because I would like to get credit for this. I guarantee you Steve Jobs got the idea from me.
So another interesting little wrinkle, according to a report in Bloomberg that came out yesterday, Ruben Caballero, he's a senior engineer at Apple, he's an antenna expert, he told senior management that the iPhone 4 design was flawed and could potentially hurt reception very early on in the planning.
Reportedly said this.
Reportedly. This is a report in Bloomberg.
And I think Steve Jobs said that's not true.
Steve Jobs is denying that this is true. This was a report in Bloomberg, but it had the guy's name. And the source of this information for Bloomberg was not revealed. They're also saying a carrier partner raised a red flag about this issue prior to the release. So it may have been preventable. We're not sure.
Yeah.
So anyway, despite all these Apple broke sales records with the iPhone 4, it's still selling ridiculously fast. Do you think there's any long-term ramifications, or is the free bumper going to take care of the complaints?
The long-term ramification is Steve Jobs is the greatest CEO ever. I mean, he's so gangster. I mean, he just takes. There he is. He is just such a hero, and he's just like, you know what? There's a problem. I am going to have everybody over my house, and we're going to talk about it. And I'm going to tell everybody. And he was like going off on Gizmodo. He was going off on people.
Yeah.
And he's like, New York Times is lying, and this person's lying, and this is a lie. I mean, he's gangster.
He tells it like it is. He does not pull punches, Steve.
But this is a new thing. I think this is, I don't want to get like all like sentimental or something like that, but I think that when you have a life-changing experience like he did, you don't have time anymore.
So you think the illness has given him a fresh perspective?
I think it's doubled him down on his no BS blunt personality, and what you're seeing in his interactions of late is probably how he's always interacted inside that company. But they had that very controlled, like, Steve is going to come out like the Zen master, and he's going to present it, you're going to applaud, and then you don't see Steve ever again.
Yes.
Now it's like Steve customer service.
He's emailing people left and right.
And he's telling people, like, go spend time with your family and don't worry about it, like that famous email.
Allegedly. Apple's still denying that was him.
Oh, please, it's him. Of course it's him.
Boy Genius Report insists that they verified the data.
I guarantee it is him.
It sounded like it.
Of course it sounds like him, and I emailed him and told him, I said, I love that response. Like, get over it. You know, it's like a phone. And if you don't like the phone, don't buy one. I got my iPhone yesterday.
Oh, really?
Finally.
Review? Do you have a review for us?
My review is the battery lasts 3 times longer. That alone makes it worth getting.
That was my number 1
Number
iPhone
2,
complaint, yeah.
The HD camera and the front and the back camera, which I predicted in the iPad, by the way, my fake iPad reports.
Yes.
The camera is amazing compared to the last one in the iPhone 3GS. The processor is faster. It feels snappier, all around snappier, and the screen is beautiful.
The visuals are stunning, amazing.
However, there's no one application that I can find where I look at that one application and go, my God, the iPhone 4 is that much better. Which to me says there's nothing revolutionary about it. It's just they pushed evolutionary, a bunch of evolutionary things made it feel like a really great product release.
Right.
The battery being twice as long, the screen being twice as clear, the speed being 30% faster, whatever it is, all of those things the camera being twice as good and there being 2 of them, all of those things have conspired now to make it well worth buying. I just got my wife an iPhone 3GS 6 months ago. I am going to pay the $600 to get her this one because I want her taking videos in HD. And I know that if she has a camera with her or whatever, Steve Jobs did a great job. I mean, he took this big issue head on. You get a free case. If you asked me, no antenna problems or antenna problems in a free case, if you put that out to people, they would give me the antenna problem and the free case.
Yeah.
People want a free case.
Well, and apparently
all of these things have problems.
Solves the antenna problem.
Yes. So what is the difference between bumper and case?
I don't know. I mean, it looks like a case to me, what they're showing.
Oh, it's a case. Yeah.
It looks
the
like
bumper
a case.
is a thin thing that goes around.
I think the bumper is what they're describing is the thing that will actually block the antenna so you're not touching it. So that's what's causing all the problems.
Who's got these big, fat, sweaty hands anyway? That's causing it.
CK's big.
CK samples. Big, fat Shrek hands are causing these problems.
That's me.
Yeah, and also Consumer Reports. Not to agree with Mike Arrington, but I mean, can they change their mind any more frequently about the iPhone? I mean, it's like
very schizophrenic. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's one person. I mean, that's why I liked I love Consumer Reports. I find them more right than wrong. I think it's a good resource, and I have been a subscriber to it at times. I currently am not, because I can find other people quoting Consumer Reports on the web, frankly. But just get the story straight. Is it good or it's not? It's a great phone, and the antenna problem. I feel like they just wanted to get attention for that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there was, as Jobs said this morning, I think there was a tendency to blow it out of proportion because people just have such high expectations for Apple products when they're new. Everybody gets so hyped, they get so excited. There's something that probably in any other product would be seen as a minor problem, a flaw. When it's Apple, it becomes like, oh my God, the world is ending. This is the worst thing ever. Yeah. I think that's a natural human sort of tendency.
I like this quote about the stock. Like, if people who bought the stock and lost $5, we don't want you as shareholders. It's great good being a billionaire, isn't it? You're the greatest CEO in the world, and you're a billionaire, you can tell people, I really don't want you buying my stock.
You can just write, what have you ever done? And for 99.99% of humanity,
what have you done? You're basically, unless you're talking to Mother Teresa or Bill Gates, you're probably not going to get a response back.
Bill Gates is like the only person in the world he can't write that to.
Michael Jordan, Bill Clinton. I mean, there's a couple of people he can't write it to. And,
Obama. Yeah. Hard to write that to Obama.
Okay, next story.
All right, so we got to talk about MySpace. Full disclosure, a lot of this story is going to deal with Sean Percival. He's a Microsoft MySpace VP. He is also a This Week in host. He hosts our social media show, so I want to get that out of the way. But it's been a big week for MySpace. First, the company announced that it was acquiring the team and assets of social messaging service Threadbox. They're a Palo Alto-based firm that focused on melding email and instant messaging into a overall collaboration tool. It's expected MySpace will use this acquisition to improve internal communications within the site. There's no word on how much MySpace is paying for the team team and assets, but the company had raised $2 million from angel investors since launching at the demo conference in 2009. So that was the first thing. The next thing, you should go to myspace.com/Sean Percival, because Sean on Thursday night tweeted out a sneak preview of what new MySpace pages are going to look like. He calls this a clean new profile, so if you can pull that up.
Yeah.
It's not rolled out site-wide yet. You have to go to myspace.com/Sean Percival to get a look at it.
It's gorgeous.
According to the Next Web, the Twitter response has been mixed. It's still unclear exactly what changes, especially about how you edit it and the back end. We can only see what's sort of public-facing, but I think undeniable that it's clearer on the eyes, more organized, and there's a lot of focus on video. If you take a look at the video section, it's got a huge video player. It's obvious that they're trying to make this more YouTube-y. There's a lot of options for MySpace video. Upload your videos. Sean's got one of him sipping a drink there. So what do you think? What are your initial sort of thoughts? And do you think this slick new design plus the public concern over Facebook, does MySpace really have a genuine shot here at getting back some of their old users?
Yes, of course. I think that any service can be rebooted and get better. I know that when Yahoo redid their mail client and got more Gmail-ish, a lot of people came back to it. The question is, can you iterate consistently, and can people come back and start to trust the brand again, trust it to be like an innovative brand again? And it looks like they're well on their way. And you got to remember, they still have tens of millions of people using this service. So I don't think that their success is going to be defined as, can they beat Facebook? They cannot. Nobody's beating Facebook but themselves or time, I think, at this point. Facebook will get to 1 billion users. It's sort of destiny at this point. It's too much momentum to stop it. But they can start to get people using the service again, absolutely. And it's the first thing I've seen out of this new MySpace group, and management team that I think is executed, I would say, really well. And so it's a long time coming. And
they've been working on this for a while.
I can tell you that this is a lot of work because they had to probably build this from scratch. And they had to build it to scale. So basically you have to, you have the existing system that you have to then go, build a system that's compatible with it and, that is built on sort of new platforms, but it feels fast and, yeah, I think people will like it. And the fact that these modules can just be added is pretty cool. And I guess there's still a lot of strippers on MySpace.
Sure there are.
I'm just
and bands and comedians. I mean, that's.
I know. I'm just looking at the.
Well, maybe those are just Sean's friends.
No, I just you start to. This is why I got off of MySpace, because I just really can't have Valleywag or somebody taking a screenshot of because when I used to have the policy, just anybody asked me to be a friend, I'd say yes.
Follow them, sure.
And then I wind up having a dozen strippers as friends, and it's like, I don't really know these girls, baby, but they're, and people take a screenshot. I just noticed there's a lot more of the photos, profile photos seem to be a lot more risque, Tila Tequila.
Yes.
I mean, MySpace made Tila Tequila.
Yes, that's her whole thing, which she was the #1 most followed person on MySpace.
So congratulations to them. Next story.
Well, before I go on to the next story, I saw a question in the chat room about what I'm using on my iPad. I just opened my notes in email on the iPad. Actually, it works beautifully. I can open anything in Safari, and I take notes. I'm using this new app called HelvetiNote, where you can take all your notes in Helvetica. It's really, really clean.
No
really
Evernote?
Good. I have Evernote on here. I have Pages. I have a lot of note. I try pretty much everything because I host the iPad show. But I like I'm using HelvetiNote now. So if anybody's curious out there,
I really hope we get that other host for.
We're working on a host for iPad, and I don't want to disclose anything.
Yeah, no, it can't yet.
It would be incredible.
Almost as incredible as PowerVPS. PowerVPS provides fully managed virtual private server hosting with great customer service and amazing pricing, starting as low as $59 a month. www.powervps. Twist viewers get 25% off for the life of their plans if they use the code TWIST. You must use the code TWIST, T-W-I-S-T. Wow, PowerVPS, great job in supporting independent media, great job in providing fully managed virtual private server hosting, managed in the cloud. Don't buy all those servers. Save your capital, keep your dry powder at your startup, and just outsource that for $59 a month. You're going to love it at powervps.com. We appreciate them supporting the show. And if you appreciate this independent media being so available to you for free, every week, week in and week out, sometimes twice a week. You just got to take a moment on Twitter to say thank you at DNA Mail, at WebSpy, at PowerVPS, and at Ustream. Just thank them on Twitter. They love that.
I would also love for people to thank at Mosey. They've come on board. They're sponsoring a couple different shows on the network. They're being massively supportive. Kevin
I
Pollak,
use Mosey. I've been using Mosey for 2 years.
Mosey's a great company.
Awesome company.
Yeah, so they just came on board.
It's a backup company. It's super cheap. It's like, I think I pay $15 a month to back up 3 computers.
You can even start, I think $4.99 are the cheapest plans to get some
but I
stuff
have
up
a
there.
plan that does 3 computers. My laptop, my office, and my home computer, all 3.
No, M-O-Z-Y.
Come on,
M-O-Z-Y,
man.
Mosey.
Who, is that Kenny Chen?
M-O-Z-Y.com.
Come on,
Mosey.
Kenny. M-O-Z-Y, Kenny.
Yeah, he's working on it. They'll get
Kenny
it.
Chen.
Anyway, we love Mosey. They're being really awesome to this weekend. They're being super supportive. We appreciate it. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Sure.
Just and everybody thank Mosey for us.
There's a lot of people we can thank for the excellent growth of the network.
There's too many to mention here. I just wanted to they're new coming aboard. And Pollak, they're investing in the Pollak show, which we appreciate.
Awesome.
Okay, so next news story. Let's move on. Got to talk about Zynga. We were talking about them a bunch during the interview
Good friends
today.
with Mark Pincus.
Social gaming champion Zynga have another massive hit on their hands, it seems. After about 5 weeks, their newest game, FrontierVille, has 20 million monthly users and about 6 million daily active users. Unbelievable. A couple other quick stats.
Huge.
6.3 million people have built a cabin in the game. 2.3 million people have gotten married in the game. 252 million snakes have been clobbered in the game, and 128 million bears have been scared away thus far in FrontierVille. It's currently the company's 3rd most popular game of all time, behind Farmville and Poker. So is this, I'm kind of curious about this. Do you think that this is people who were playing Farmville and got bored and now are jumping ship to FrontierVille, like it's one set community, or do you think that they have real staying power? Every game they're introducing, they're going to keep expanding and getting new people?
No, I'm absolutely certain that there is a massive crossover audience, and that this has to chip away. I'm sure some of them are new, but I'm certain that people are playing 2 games. I'm sure that if a game better than We Rule comes along for iPad, I'll start doing that. And if you're a Godfinger player, you might play less Farmville, or Farmville player might play less We Rule. I mean, the fact that I spend 10 minutes a day on We Rule, 5 in the morning, 5 at night, is probably the most I'm going to give to one of these games. So if I did find another game, that would be the end of the We Rule. So, yeah, I think that these people are going to just jump from game to game.
So if they hit, I mean, do we think Zynga's hit sort of critical mass, like they're at their user? People who are into it have found it, or is there
there's still
more room to grow?
There's definitely more room to grow because it's going to be on different devices, so there's platforms.
Right.
So they're not on the iPhone yet or the iPad, but they will be. And so when you get to iPad and iPhone and Android, and people are playing this on multiple platforms, and when the Yahoo deal comes out, which I predicted, that could be very transformative. So imagine all those Yahoo users who don't use Facebook that much, the older users, they get into it. And I think that their market is a lot of older women, housewives, moms at home, people at work, screwing around. I see people at work playing with these things. We got people here on We Rule. But that's okay. I like people playing the We Rule because I'm trying to figure out how to take those dynamics and put them into Mahalo Answers and get people more addicted to Mahalo Answers. So I want people to, I'm thinking every time they log in, they get 10 cent Mahalo cents. Every time they answer a question or put a comment, that or they do 10 searches, they get a Mahalo penny. And then you can do stuff with that, like, so
you got to hit that loop, though. That's the
you got to get the loop.
You got to get that compulsion loop.
Where you lose something. There's a penalty.
You lose something when you don't log in, and you're using everything you get. You use to level up, which you get more, and then you use it to level up, and it just never ends.
What I would like to do is, if you log in, you get a penny the first day, 2 cents the second day, 3 cents the third day, 4 cents.
The more days in a row.
The more days in a row.
So
up
if you
to
take one day off, you lose. That's
you start over.
I like that.
Or you go back.
That'd work.
Maybe you go back.
You have to start all over again.
Or you go back one day.
Oh, okay.
So if you're 4 days, you miss a day, you go back to 3. You miss another day, you go back to 2. So just sort of.
I like you start all over. So you get people who are like have a couple hundred days under their belt. Then they're really incentivized.
Yeah. You have to scale it back though. Like maybe if you hit
you
$1.
have to cap at it $1.
No. What you do is every 10 days after $1, you get a penny. Then so it's
something like
10.
That.
So in a month you go from $1, $1, $2, $3, whatever.
We'd figure it out.
Yeah. Okay. Next one.
Video blogger and performance artist Zay Frank received $500,000 from a group of VCs and angel investors to start a stealth project known as Zay Frank Games. Investors include Andressen Horowitz, Founder Collective, Ron Conway's SV Angels, Betaworks, Gary Vaynerchuk, and more. Frank has remained exceptionally vague about his plans. He told TechCrunch, "The company is in stealth mode, but it will involve social gaming and will be heavily influenced by what I've learned about play and participation over the last 10 years with projects like The Show and Color Wars." He's also hiring for a front-end developer and a graphic designer. So Color Wars, you'll recall, that was his Twitter game where he organized people into different groups based on colors and then gave them challenges. Gary Vee said he's not invested because of the project, but because he just wants to be in business with Zay Frank. Chris Dixon of the Founder Collective said, quote, "Zay is a genius and he's going to do amazing stuff." So obviously we all love Zay here, massively influential for anybody doing web video. Would you give him angel money just on his reputation without knowing what he's up to?
No.
And what do you think? Any ideas, thoughts on what Zay Frank Games will be, what he's going to do with it?
I'm sure he has a game already outlined, or he would not have been able to raise money from Andressen Horowitz. So he probably has a very specific thing that is Farmville-esque or, you know, addictive-esque with virtual goods in it that will make money. Nobody's going to just give money away. So while he's being like, oh, you know, it's going to be based on things and we're going to develop it, I am absolutely certain that he's further along than he's letting on,
right?
Because people like Andressen Horowitz, those two guys, Mark and Ben, they don't invest in just a dude. Certainly not just a dude who did really cool videos.
Right.
That's no dig to Zay. I mean, Zay would have an easier time getting on a television show than I would, but I would have a harder. He would have a harder time raising capital than I would, or Mark Pincus would. Mark Pincus could walk in, or Evan Williams, or Jack from Twitter. Those kind of guys could walk in and get angel funding instantly without a plan or without, you know, just a vertical. But he would have to present something. They're not just going to give it to a video blogger. That being said, I do think he's a pretty brilliant guy. His work is spectacular. He's very creative. It's only $500,000. So if he screws up, it's a little bit of a flyer. It's an angel round, and it's not even, I mean, it's a medium-sized angel round. So it's not like there's so much at stake here. So if people he probably has a plan that people think could work, but people are not willing to risk millions of dollars on him yet. They're willing to risk a couple $100,000, which is sort of what with the Ask Jason call. What is Zay Frank capable of at this time? What is the opportunity for him at this point in his career? The opportunity is a guy who's a video blogger is actually able to raise angel funding. That's a huge success. A blogger being able to raise from Andressen Horowitz. I mean, these are one of the biggest names.
The biggest names in
right.
investing.
So this is a huge success for him. So he's leveraged, you know, video blogging into this, but he had to have something to show them. He had to have some business plan or concept to show they just don't give money out for free just because you've got a lot of views on YouTube. So I would have relatively high expectations that he'll do something interesting. I think he'll deploy the capital well, but that doesn't mean you're a business guy all of a sudden either. You know, he's going to have to figure out how to make this into a business and scale it. And just because Mark Pincus made Farmville work and Susan, you know, our guest today, made her, you know, Outspark game work well, and other people played them, have made things work, it doesn't mean that you're just guaranteed success. And I think that we're starting to get to a frothy moment right now where the space is getting a little overdeveloped. Like the Groupon deal space is getting overdeveloped.
Yeah.
This is getting overdeveloped. Social gaming is getting overdeveloped. There's only so much social gaming that people are going to want to do, and that means for every Farmville, FrontierVille, WeRule, etc., or Outspark, there's going to be many more that don't get to critical mass. But I wish him a lot of luck. He's a great guy and very creative. And if I had to, I would bet on Zay Frank. So you asked me if I would invest on just him, I would say no. But if he said, "Here's my plan," and it made sense, I would say yes. So, but I wouldn't invest in anybody just based on them, except for maybe 10 people, 5 people. You know, if you, I would want to. I still want to hear what exactly it is. I mean,
right. Yeah.
You know, I'm just out of curiosity too. So that's interesting. That sort of came out of nowhere. Next one.
Yeah. Last story for the day. Google announced on its official blog this morning it has acquired semantic search startup Metaweb.
Huge.
The terms of the deal have not been disclosed. Metaweb, of course, maintains Freebase, an open shared database of the world's knowledge. It's basically Wikipedia for data. They also develop semantic data storage. So obviously, on one level, owning Freebase will make Google search more intelligent. Now it has a massive almanac of data that's readable by its software. And Metaweb says it will continue to support existing partners, but it won't take on any new partners. They had raised close to $60 million thus far from Benchmark Capital, Goldman Sachs, and others. So how do you think owning Web is going to help Google? And is this basically what Google had already tried to do with Google Base? Is this like admitting Google Base didn't work and they want Freebase instead?
You know, sometimes Google buys things for the people, I think. So we don't know the dollar amount yet that they bought this for, correct?
No, we don't. No terms have been disclosed.
Without knowing when they don't announce the terms, it's typically because they weren't good and they're trying to save a little bit of face. We'll know in 3 or 4 months, maybe in an SEC filing. If it's material, they'll have to disclose it. It may not be material, so they may not have to disclose it, but it will leak out.
Right.
If it leaks out that they bought it for, you know, under $150 million or $100 million when they've raised 60.
Right.
What did you say, 60 or 70?
60 million.
So if it's less than double that, or it's less than triple that, they're bailing them out, basically. It basically means Freebase wasn't going anywhere. If they raise 60 million, they sell for 120 or 150. It probably means it wasn't really going anywhere, but they had a good team and they had some good stuff. And Freebase probably wanted to sell, and they probably didn't see this becoming a billion-dollar business. But that being said, there's a lot of smart people there. So it seems to me like they probably bought 50 engineers or 100 engineers, or I don't know how many employees are there. Somebody can look it up and tell us in the chat room. But there's nothing going on at Freebase that Google could not do themselves with their engineers. So it's a little bit confusing. Freebase was not like it's some big brand. So sometimes they buy stuff for the people. It's a confusing one in the same way Vark was confusing.
Yeah.
Or what was the Twitter clone? Jaiku.
Pounce?
No, Jaiku.
Jaiku, yes.
Jaiku or Dodgeball. Google can be confounding with their acquisitions sometimes. And this one is in the confounding bucket until I know what exactly the price was, because the price will be the tell. Just like in poker, just because somebody raised doesn't really give you that much information. What position were they in? What was their behavior pre-flop?
Yeah.
How much is the raise in relation to what's in the pot, to what's in their stack, to the blinds going up? People are asking about the World Series. Yes, I got bounced out on day 2. Thank you to my friends at Full Tilt for including me in Team Full Tilt and sponsoring me again this year.
Looks like 87 employees, by the way.
Yeah, so I think they're buying 87 employees and probably some good ideas and technology, but yeah. Anyway, it was very frustrating. Yes, my aces got cracked against jacks, which
it's rough.
Wound up getting a flush, which is extremely hard to do, to get 4 diamonds on the board out of the 5 cards. When you have 1 diamond in your hand. I should have been playing until day 3, which was my goal, to get at least to day 3, and I didn't. So I'm a little upset. But
next year. It's always next year.
You know what? As I was telling people, the most frustrating moment of the year in the past year has been getting bounced out of the World Series of Poker, especially the way I got bounced out. And last year, that was the most frustrating moment of the year before. And I got busted out with ace-10 suited that time, and that wasn't really a great hand, and I ran into kings. And that basically says I have the most charmed life in the world. If my most frustrating moment of the year is when I get knocked out of the
World Series of Poker, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I got knocked out of my free roll for the World Series of Poker, and I went and had a $60 Kobe burger with foie gras on it with superfan John. I met one of the superfans there. A guy named John, really nice guy.
Oh, cool.
This guy John, I was talking to my wife about it. Really nice kid. He offers to give me a ride from the airport. I had a car, no big deal. Shows up day 1, and I said I was dying because I needed a Diet Coke, and they weren't serving Pepsi, which is disgusting at the World Series, communist beverage. And he brings me a Diet Coke and says, "Hey, I got a Diet Coke for you." And he's on the rail.
He came all the way to give you...
He lived a couple blocks from the Rio, so it wasn't that big of a deal, but it was very nice of him. So I go over and get the thing from him. He goes, "Oh, do you want Diet Coke or Coke Zero?" I got both. I was like, it's a really nice gesture to get both.
What a guy.
That's Coke Zero. I love that. He watched the entire day.
Wow.
Then 2 days later, he came back for day 2 and watched me for the entire day. It's the only guy who watched me, but for the whole rail,
That's
it
amazing.
was kind of nice. So then after I got busted out, me and him went and got a burger at the burger bar.
Oh, you brought him to get one of the foie gras
Yeah, we went.
burgers?
The two of us went. We drowned our sorrows in a foie gras burger.
It's classic.
I always, my wife's like, it's not a little creepy. It's cool.
It's a little creepy.
It's not creepy at all. I mean, listen, I am on a television show, right? This is a television show. You guys get to know me.
Yeah.
And there's people who are fans of poker, so to watch the World Series of Poker is fun. Not creepy. Come on. I think it's nice. But Phil Ivey's got 50 people watching him there the whole time.
That's true. Yeah.
I'm no Phil Ivey. Someday.
Someday.
Okay, well, we did the show in 1 hour and 22 minutes. That's a record.
Amazing.
Very well done. I like the shorter show. I don't feel as exhausted by the end of it.
Yeah. Well, I figured we were going to talk a little bit about the meetups and stuff, so I didn't plan a Shark Tank for this.
I know
week.
people are complaining.
I know. We'll do more Shark Tanks. There's more Shark Tanks coming.
Absolutely.
We definitely still want to do the Shark Tank. I cut a little short this week.
Oh, he's saying the foie gras is creepy. Yes, foie gras.
Foie gras is not creepy. Foie gras is delicious.
Delicious. I'm going to go see Inception tonight. Are you coming?
I'm there. Yeah, we're
It's going to be
going.
great. I can't wait to see that. Meetup.com/startups.
Go there.
Go there,
And
we'll
it's
see you
not
here.
too late. Email me with your Skype ID. We
Lon
can still
at
get you on the
This
show.
Week In.
Yes.
Lon at This Week In. Email Lon. Thank you, WebSpy. Thank you, DNA Mail. Thank you, PowerVPS. Thank you, Ustream. Thank you, Mosey. Thank you, Drobo. Thank you, TriCaster. Where's our HD unit you're supposed to send me? And is there any other shows tonight?
There is Mobile. This Week in Mobile, coming up at 4. Great guest, the author of this book, Hamlet's Blackberry, I think it's called. And it's I saw Andrew Keene was talking about it as well this week. Really interesting book about being connected, smartphones, what impact they have on us mentally. I'm going to look it up right now. But yeah, that's
This
coming
Week in
up.
Mobile.
That's coming up at 4
with
p.m.
your
Pacific.
Host.
Ashley Escada and Mike Hobbs.
Right. And that used to be This Week in Android, but we made it This Week in Mobile because they were talking about the iPhone.
Yeah,
the
so
whole show.
author William Powers of the book.
But now on that show, are they all they're all Android freaks, both of the hosts?
No, Mike is a huge hardcore Apple nut. Loves it.
So you have an Apple nut. I know Ashley is.
So we've got an Android nut and an Apple nut.
So that makes for good television programming.
It's always an interesting discussion.
And This Week in Video Games launched.
Yes, This
I
Week in
saw
Video
it,
Games.
featured in the iTunes store.
It's #1 under New and Noteworthy yesterday.
Oh, was it really?
It was #1.
And $100,000 or something crazy like that.
It was 150,000 by the end of the day.
Wow.
Getting in that slot on New and Noteworthy is huge.
Great. Well, good job on that. And also This Week in Music debuted. They're up to episode 2 this week.
3. We just did episode 3 of This Week in Music.
Okay. Awesome. We'll see you all next time. Which would be Tuesday at 11 a.m. here at the office.
Yeah.
For Pano Chocolat with J-Cal. We'll see you then.
Spiked out, I could trip a referee. Tell by my attitude that I most definitely from.